The words hung in the air of my parents' living room like smoke. Pine from the Christmas tree mixed with the smell of eggnog gone too sweet. My brother Marcus stood beside the fireplace, one hand resting on the mantel like he was posing for a portrait. His grin was wide, confident, the same grin he'd worn when he sold his first house at 23. "You're what?" I set down my coffee cup. The ceramic made a sharp sound against the saucer. "Your clinic," Marcus said, pulling out his phone. He swiped through screens, then turned it toward the family gathered in the living room. "Riverside Veterinary. I closed the deal 3 days ago. The buyer's taking possession January 2nd. "You're welcome." My mother gasped. "Marcus, that's wonderful. Sarah's been struggling with that place for years." I hadn't been struggling. Riverside Veterinary had been operating at a steady profit for 8 years. My hand tightened around the coffee cup handle. "You can't sell my clinic, Marcus. You don't own it." He laughed. The sound was sharp, dismissive. "Dad co-signed your original business loan, remember? That gave me legal standing as his power of attorney. I've been watching you barely break even, working yourself to death for what? 70-hour weeks to treat people's goldfish." "Sarah works too hard," Dad said from his armchair. He hadn't looked up from his tablet. "Marcus is right. Maybe it's time to be realistic about your limitations." My sister Jennifer leaned forward on the couch. "How much did you get?" $280,000, Marcus said. "After the loan payoff and my commission, there's about $40,000 left. I figured we'd split it, 10 for you, 10 for Jen, 20 for Mom and Dad since they took the risk." Mom was already mentally spending it. I could see it in her eyes, the way she glanced at the cruise brochures on the coffee table. "That's very generous, Marcus. Sarah, honey, this is really a blessing. You can finally relax, maybe work at a corporate clinic with normal hours." I looked at each of them. Marcus with his phone. Jennifer nodding along. Dad still scrolling. Mom already planning her vacation. None of them had asked me a single question. Not one. "I need to make a phone call," I said. I walked into the guest bedroom and closed the door. My hands were shaking as I pulled up my clinic manager's number. Laura answered on the second ring. "Dr. Reeves? Merry Christmas. Is everything okay? Did anyone contact you about selling the clinic?" Silence. Then, "No. Why would they? You own it outright. The loan was paid off in 2019. The room tilted slightly. I sat on the edge of the bed. "Say that again." "The business loan. You paid it off 5 years ago. I have the documentation in the files. Your dad co-signed initially, but once it was paid, all his legal ties were severed. It's been solely yours since then." "Dr. Reeves, what's happening?" I told her. Every word Marcus had said. When I finished, Laura's voice had gone cold and professional. "That's fraud. Multiple felonies, actually. I'm calling our attorney right now. Do not sign anything. Do not agree to anything." I sat there after she hung up, staring at the wallpaper's faded roses. In the living room I could hear my family laughing. Marcus was telling a story about the boat he'd bought, a 32-foot bayliner, purchased yesterday for $35,000. Cash down payment. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Don't be dramatic. This is for your own good." I spent Christmas night in a hotel. The silence felt strange after years of my family's chaos, but it also felt clean. Like the first breath after breaking the surface of water. December 26th started early. I was at Riverside Veterinary by 6 a.m. before sunrise. Laura met me there with our attorney Mitchell Harrison, a man in his 60s who specialized in veterinary business law. We spent 2 hours going through every document, every file, every piece of paper that tied the clinic to my name alone. "This is airtight," Mitchell said, spreading papers across my desk. "The loan payoff is documented. Your brother has no legal claim. The question is, did he actually sell it or was this a bluff?" My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered on speaker. "Dr. Reeves? This is Catherine Wong from the State Veterinary Board. We've received 89 calls this morning from your clients stating they received notices that Riverside Veterinary is closing and all medical records are being transferred to a clinic in Hartford. Can you explain?" My stomach dropped. Laura's face went pale. "I didn't send any notices," I said. "My clinic is not closing. The notices went out yesterday via email and text. They were sent from your clinic's official communication system. Dr. Reeves, this is extremely serious. We're talking about 89 animals whose medical histories are supposedly being moved without owner consent. If you didn't authorize this, I'll call you back in 10 minutes, I said. Laura was already at her computer, pulling up our client management system. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Someone accessed the system remotely on Christmas Eve at 9:47 p.m. They used your login credentials to send a mass communication to all active clients. Can you trace the IP address? Mitchell asked. She typed for another 30 seconds. It's coming from, oh my God. It's Marcus's home address. I recognize it from when he wanted you to send him files about the business finances last year. Mitchell leaned back in his chair. His expression was grim. He fabricated a sale to justify stealing your business assets. This isn't just fraud. This is identity theft, unauthorized access to computer systems, and attempting to permanently damage a licensed medical practice. Dr. Reeves, your brother is looking at multiple felony charges. I called Catherine Wong back. Explained everything. Sent her the documentation showing sole ownership, the IP trace, Marcus's Christmas Eve announcement. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, her voice was measured but tight with anger. I'm forwarding this to our Criminal Investigation Division immediately. They'll coordinate with state police. Dr. Reeves, I need you to send a communication to all 89 clients within the next 2 hours explaining that their animals' records are secure and the previous notice was fraudulent. Can you do that? Yes. Good. We'll be in touch shortly about filing formal complaints. By 9 a.m. Laura and I had drafted and sent the communication. My phone started ringing immediately. Clients calling to confirm, to apologize for doubting me, to ask what had happened. I took each call, explained that everything was fine, that their pets' records were secure. Mrs. Patterson, whose elderly corgi had been my patient for 7 years, said something I'll never forget. Dr. Reeves, whoever tried to hurt your practice doesn't understand what you've built here. We know you. We trust you. That matters more than any fake notice. At 10:15 a.m. Marcus called me. I didn't answer. He called again. And again. By the 5th call I answered. Sarah, what the hell did you do? His voice was panicked, high-pitched. State police just showed up at my house with a warrant. They took my computer. They're talking about fraud charges. This is insane. You tried to steal my business, I said calmly. I was standing in the clinic's break room, looking out at the parking lot where I'd parked my first car 9 years ago. You hacked my computer system, sent fraudulent notices to 89 clients, and claimed to have sold a business you had no legal right to touch. I was trying to help you. The clinic is failing. The clinic made $147,000 in profit last year, I said. We served 1,200 animals. Our client retention rate is 94%. I paid off the business loan 5 years ago. You had zero legal standing, Marcus. You never did. Silence. Then, Dad's power of attorney ended when the loan was paid. Mitchell Harrison has the documentation. You knew that, didn't you? You accessed my files last year when I stupidly gave you my login to send you that tax document. You saw everything. You knew the business was profitable, knew I owned it outright, and you decided to take it anyway. I bought a boat, he said quietly. $35,000. I already made the down payment. I closed my eyes. There was the real story underneath. Marcus had spent money he didn't have on a fantasy of wealth, then tried to manufacture the justification retroactively. It was almost pathetic. Almost. That's not my problem, I said. Sarah, please. If I get convicted of fraud, I lose my real estate license. My career is over. I've got 2 kids. You should have thought about that before you tried to destroy mine. I hung up. My hands weren't shaking anymore. The ghost ledger started as a joke. Laura suggested it during lunch when we were stress-eating Chinese takeout in my office. You should make a list, she said. Everything he's cost you over the years. So I did. I opened a spreadsheet and titled it The Ghost Ledger. Emotional Costs of Family. Christmas 2019. Marcus called my promotion to practice owner, nice. Spent 40 minutes discussing his new BMW. Cost. Self-esteem, confidence in own achievements. Mom's 60th birthday 2021. I arrived with homemade cake after 12-hour surgery day. Marcus arrived with catered meal. Mom hugged him for 5 minutes, thanked me in passing. Cost. Recognition, maternal validation. Thanksgiving 2022. Marcus's son needed emergency appendectomy. I rearranged my entire surgical schedule, stayed with him through recovery. Marcus never said thank you. Cost. 3 canceled surgeries, client goodwill, expectation of reciprocity. Every family gathering 2017 to 2024. Sarah works too hard. Sarah's too serious. Sarah doesn't know how to relax. Never. Sarah saves lives. Sarah built something. Sarah succeeded. Cost. 7 years of diminishment, death by 1,000 paper cuts. The list grew to 2 pages. Laura read it over my shoulder and said quietly, "You've been funding their egos with your silence." He was right. I'd been playing a rigged game, feeding coins into a slot machine that would never pay out. The gambler's fallacy. Just one more quarter, one more family dinner, one more time proving myself, and surely they'd see me. But the machine was broken by design. It wasn't built to give jackpots to people like me. The origin moment, the one that changed everything, happened 3 months earlier. September 14th, 11:47 p.m. I was finishing paperwork after an emergency surgery. A chocolate lab who'd eaten rat poison. The owner was crying, thanking me, saying I'd saved her best friend's life. And my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Marcus closed his biggest sale today. $1.2 million house. We're so proud. Nothing about the life I'd just saved. Nothing about the skill that required. Just Marcus's commission check. I sat there in the quiet clinic, the lab recovering peacefully in the surgical suite, and something clicked. Not anger. Clarity. I wasn't punishing them by setting boundaries. I was simply refusing to subsidize their cruelty anymore. The procedural justice unfolded like a textbook case. December 27th, State Police formally charged Marcus with computer fraud, identity theft, and attempting to defraud a licensed medical professional. The Veterinary Board suspended his ability to conduct any business involving veterinary practices pending investigation. December 28th, the State Real Estate Commission launched their own investigation. Falsely claiming power of attorney, attempting to broker a non-existent sale, misrepresenting his legal authority. Each was a separate violation of real estate ethics codes. December 30th, Marcus's brokerage firm suspended him pending the investigation's outcome. His managing broker told me privately, if the charges stick, he'll never work in real estate again. Not in this state. January 3rd, my attorney Mitchell filed civil suit against Marcus for damages, reputation harm, client distress, emergency legal fees, and fraudulent use of my computer systems. Total sought, $120,000. January 5th, Marcus tried to visit me at the clinic. Laura called security before he made it past the parking lot. I watched from my office window as he argued with the guard, gesturing frantically. The guard stood firm. Eventually, Marcus left, shoulders slumped, driving a Honda Civic. The boat, I'd learned, had already been repossessed. My mother called that evening. Sarah, you're destroying your brother's life over a misunderstanding. Family forgives. He tried to steal my business and sent fraudulent medical notices to 89 clients, I said. That's not a misunderstanding. That's multiple felonies. He made a mistake. He has children. So do my clients. They trusted me with their pets' lives. Marcus tried to destroy that trust for a boat payment. Mom, I'm not discussing this. You've always been cold, she said. Even as a child. Your father and I hung up. Blocked her number. Then Dad's. Then Jennifer's. The silence that followed felt like the first morning after a fever breaks. Clear, cool, peaceful. By February, the consequences were complete. Marcus pled guilty to reduced charges, computer fraud and falsifying documents. He received 2 years probation, community service, and a permanent ban from real estate licensing in Connecticut. The civil suit settled for $85,000, paid in monthly installments garnished from his new job managing a car rental franchise. The 89 pet owners who'd reported him became my most loyal advocates. Mrs. Patterson organized a fundraiser that brought in $15,000 for our emergency surgery fund. Mr. Chin, whose diabetic cat I'd been treating for 4 years, wrote a review that went viral locally. Dr. Reeves didn't just save my cat. She showed what integrity looks like when someone tries to tear it down. 6 months after Christmas, I took my first real vacation in 8 years. 2 weeks in Costa Rica, hiking through rainforests, swimming in waterfalls, sleeping 10 hours a night. My phone stayed off except for emergencies. Laura ran the clinic flawlessly. I didn't think about Marcus once. When I returned, there was a letter waiting. My mother, handwritten, 6 pages long. It started with, "We've had time to reflect," and ended with, "We hope you can forgive us." I read it once. Then I filed it in my desk drawer, unsure if I'd ever respond. But what I knew for certain. My clinic served 1,400 animals last year. We hired 2 new veterinary techs. We expanded our surgical suite. My savings account, no longer drained by emotional labor and family chaos, had tripled. The ghost ledger sits in my desk. I look at it sometimes, not with anger but with anthropological curiosity. It's evidence of a life I used to live where I measured my worth by their approval. That measurement system is closed now. The balance is 0. And I am finally in the black.